Alright guys, got another episode of Dad's World Riding with Rich. We're gonna do blue heron today out here in the Lake Brand area. Nice little quick ride. It's 94 degrees out. But the nice thing is there's no other riders out here because it's hot. Or there might be some, but not many. This is gonna be a quicker ride. I only got time. I gotta do the dad thing, you know. Just got off work, ran out here, said hi to the family. Gotta go cut all the lawn, that nice, beautiful fescue that is terrible in the heat. High maintenance. Oh, but that's on the agenda today. So we gotta hurry before it gets dark. Then I'm gonna do another episode either tonight or tomorrow on installing a ranch hand brush guard on the 2022 F250, and figure that might be something that's enjoyable if you've never done that. Plus, when I was searching YouTube, I couldn't find any, and that'll cover, I think, 2017 to 22 body styles. Might help somebody else. The instructions are ranch hands are supposed to be great. You know, they one of the oldest names. They hold up. Some people install these brush guards for looks because they love them, even though they have no real use for them. However, there is a practical use. You have more protection if you hit something, so you don't total out the truck, hopefully. Mine is along those lines. Hold on, nice hill here. It is warm, but mine, I want to put it on because when I do call at night, especially, there are so many deer. And I think it was last week or the week before when I did call, I almost got in 4 separate accidents over a week, all by deer. Now that doesn't mean the ranch hand won't let some damage come to your truck. The whole goal is to make it as little as possible, and on another note, to make the car drivable at least. This one is not with the bumper. I figured no real reason doing the bumper one, because I can drive with the damaged bumper and I'll get it fixed. And if I damage the bumper and damage the ranch hand, when I get it all fixed at the same time, I'd replace it with a ranch hand bumper grill, because it's cheaper than replacing the original bumper. So that would be the goal. So, needless to say, that's on the agenda. You may hear my bike crack some. I have not replaced the bearings. I just replaced these damn things not long ago. Actually, I had the truck shop do it, which it cost me a fortune, even though they shouldn't. But it's like any dealer. You bring your bike in, you're gonna pay premium. Now, most of the time they do good work overall, most. So, our local one here at Get Outdoors is where I go. But I may see if I can change these out myself. The costs are just so limiting, and I have everything else that I do. Might be a good video. Anyway, back to the ranch hand. We're doing, it says the install is around an hour. I don't know. do some minor cuts and near the tow hooks in the plastic there. It's just how it is. And then I believe it slides in place, and it's a total of 6 or 8 bolts. Now mind you, for those guys that, whoa, almost ate it. Guys that think you can put this on and run things over, you're in a world of it. It's 12 gauge steel, tubular, and it'll take a hit, but it's still gonna mess it up. The goal is to save the impact on the vehicle, or by at least make your vehicle drive, because it's protecting the guts and the headlights. Woo! So that's the goal, at least. So that is on the agenda. I think the wife wants me to go to a birthday party, sit there and act like I don't know anybody, which I do usually, doing the dad thing. But I figure she can go this one alone for once. She says she doesn't know anybody either. I said, well, she didn't have anything better to do, so I think she'll survive. You see all this tall grass. This time of year, ticks are real bad. So most of the time, I put a little bit of bug spray. I do the wipes on my legs, and it keeps the damn bugs off me. Because you'll be riding and you have no idea. And then when you get home and you take a shower, you find this damn tick on you. And then if any of you guys have had ticks, you know they're itchy as hell, the bites. Of course, when I was young, I don't remember them being this itchy, but boy, they are now. One of the reasons why I want to do my own bearings is just like everything. When you hire somebody, one, you don't know if they actually did a good job. Two, you end up having to redo it yourself 75% of the time, and then you paid and you're pissed. And three, waiting for somebody to do this drives you nuts. I just had this bike over the winter, serviced, fully serviced, and it cost me like 500 bucks. And they were supposed to replace every one of these bearings. And when I got it back, within a week, I was slipping, and it was not necessarily a bearing, but it was a piece that the pedals sink in that was worn. Now, I should have been caught, because I paid for this whole tune-up where they look at everything and inspect it, and they'll call you if they need to repair something special. Well, nobody called me, and they admitted it did look worn, but they filed it and they were trying to save me money, they said. But all it did was cost me going back to the shop and another $200 and something worth of work. When I looked at this piece, I shook my head. If I had the piece, I could have changed it in minutes. So I decided then, we're gonna experiment. We're gonna try to fix some of this stuff. What's the worst thing that happen? I have to bring it to somebody? Hell with it. Like a lot of you guys out there, when you work on things yourself, sometimes it comes out good, sometimes it doesn't, but you learn from it for the next time. And you also know, usually if you're getting ripped off, because you'll find a lot of repairs when you get them or do them aren't hard at all. You just lack the knowledge or the one time seeing it to do it. With the value of YouTube, is you can see them now a lot of time. So hence, that's why installed my own sprinkler system. I did my own encapsulating under my house. I've done retaining walls. All these things cost big money, and they get away with it. I had 5 different guys come out on encapsulating, giving me quotes, telling me what they do. And I wrote down what they do, what they thought, did a little research on my own, took some days off work, did the math to make sure it was to my advantage to take the days off work. Remember guys, if you make a lot of money, you got to do the math sometimes. It ain't worth doing your own, because it's overtime for you if you're working, guys. If you're not working and have the time, easy peasy, you can do it. So to make a long story short, they wanted around $20,000. I think the low bid was 18 and the high bid was 24 to encapsulate under my house, which was ungodly considering it's one dehumidifier commercial size, and it was about 2,500 or 2,800 square feet under my house to do, and considering half of it was already concreted, they didn't have to do the floor in those areas. So I did a better job than they probably would. I made it more aesthetic than they would have. I added a whole bunch of lights. I finished that, and then I turned around and did it by myself. I had a friend come over and help me on the walls for a couple hours just because I needed some extra hands. I did it without drilling and making a bunch of holes for something they call Christmas trees through another company I found to buy my material from. And I think the whole thing I had 1,600 in approximately about 12 hours of my time. So $1,600, let's say 12 hours of my time, let's just say $100 an hour, $2,800 I learned from the experience. I'd say I won big time. You guys may differ. Put a comment in. What's the worst thing? You screw up and have to redo a little piece of it? Ain't the end of the world. My wife will help me on some stuff. Now she's not mechanical and she doesn't have the knowledge base, but what she does have is an extra set of hands, and she's willing to stand out there even to hold stupid stuff, which is a big help to me, and I appreciate that. So you don't need a wife that knows how to do this for an extra set of hands. She might be the one help me put on my my brush guard, because I need a second set of hands. We'll see though. I'm not riding that hard today. It's hot. I have all my body gear on. That means I'm about 15 degrees hotter than the temperature of 94 degrees before I started with all this gear on. And once again, you, the viewers, can tell me I may be stupid, but I am safe. You may make the comment, what about heat stroke? I carry water. I know my limits. If I get hot, I'll pull it off, stop. That's my worst case scenario, but that's never happened. Mind you, this is my first season riding in the heat with all this stuff on. I guess being a Florida boy, the heat doesn't bother me as much yet. It will when I'm older, but I'm only in my early 40s. Give me a drink. So, ooh, I need that water. a nice little trail. It's beginner, nothing too hard. The worst part about it is it's rooty, which I don't like roots. Slip on them and bounce too much. But it's fun. It's a local. It's not an all-day thing. I want to say it's 3.7 miles. It's called Blue Heron. It's one of my go-tos. But back to the math on the weathering in your current basement or crawl. Mine looks good, it's usable as hell, smells good, dry, no mold. That's the dehumidifier I put in. Or you can cut in off your HVAC. There's different ways to do it, but there's risks with everything. A little more costly to put a commercial unit, but you don't have to worry about the times when your AC is not running spring and fall to dehumidify. So anyway, I also did my sprinkler system. That one, I probably picked the wrong time of year. It was mid-August and it was dry. Oh, it was dry. My wife wanted it. We had bad grass. My stepfather came up. He had put him in before in Florida. He was an older man. He was going to give me some of the working knowledge because I had never done it. And what I found out is it's incredibly easy. But the labor was a bitch. Only because I put mine a lot deeper than recommended. You have to go below the frost line. Here it's a foot in North Carolina. But I wanted to go extra deep in some spots. I don't know why. So I wouldn't hit it when I cut with other things, I guess. I don't know. But I went down to Home Depot, rented a trencher, big boy. It cut through most of the big stuff, but even it was struggling because the ground was like concrete. It looked like the Sahara Desert with cracks. It was so dry. Over 2 weeks, I lost 15 pounds. And you say 2 weeks? It did not take me 2 weeks. I worked the whole time during the day, and I was limited on how many hours when I got done I could do. And so I did most of the labor. My stepfather gave me knowledge, and he helped out some where he could. But he's 70 years old. There's only so much he could do. We turned around, I put 17 zones in. At the time, about 4 years ago, they wanted around $1,000 to $1,200 a zone to put these damn things in. And the reason I did it myself, I did the same thing, 5 quotes. I asked them what special they use. They generally all gave me the same thing and said the areas they put them. And then I added up at my cost what it would cost me to buy this stuff, to set it up the way they were telling me. And then I went above and beyond and did this smart system with basically an iPad on it, more than any of them were going to do. Again, making it more smart home and easy for long-term use. And no matter how I did the math and how inefficient I was putting it in compared to how they would, I could only come up with about $1,800 to $2,000, and that was including written equipment, not labor. So I asked them, how many guys you'd have working on this? And each of them told me they would have probably 5 guys, day laborers, and it would take between a day to a day and a half in their experience. So I did the math, 8 hours a day, 5 of them at $20 an hour, which I knew they weren't paying these guys. That was $1,000. 1,500 in labor, be kind of day and a half. That means they were going to get paid $3,000 to $3,500 in total costs out, and charge me around $20,000. It was 18 to 22. Turn around here. I'm not riding any farther today. This is the cutoff. So what did that tell me? That told me that they weren't just making money off me, they were getting rich. And looking back, I could have done some things a little different and saved somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 to $800 in a couple days of labor, because I laid some things inefficiently. It worked fine, but I would, if I was a business owner and done it before, I could have done it a little different. But that's my cost on all this pipe and material. You know damn well that their costs are 25% what I was paying at least, which is okay. They got to make money, guys. But I didn't say they had to get rich off me. So I worked 3-4 hours a day during the week, and my stepfather would fart around over this week he was here. I worked on the weekends, you know, a couple 8-hour days, maybe 10 hours, and there you go. I did it all. And now I didn't skimp. I put more heads in than they did. I poured more zones in than they did. And what do you know? Now my well gave off 12 gallons a minute. My water line was 38 feet. My well went, I think off the top of my head, don't quote me, but 176 feet or 156. I can't remember off the top of my head. But at the time, each guy was trying to tell me they only want to put 4 heads on each zone. And it's not that they're wrong, but they get more zones with less heads, guys. A head's $4 or $5. So I put 5 in some zones, and I could have put 5 in all of them after doing it and had more than enough pressure. You can do the calculation, but the heads adjust to how many pounds you want them to squirt out by the little nozzles you put in the end of them, okay? Pretty easy. But I did this, and what I did, because I have a big yard, that 1-inch diameter pipe, I only had a 35 gallon well tank, because that's all they want to put on houses a lot of times, because it's manageable in their eyes. What that does is you lose pressure fast, and when you lose pressure, your pump has to cycle. Then I keep mine at about 60 psi. It cycles. It's a 40-60 switch, so it cycles on at 39, and it'll stay running because it doesn't have enough pressure, but it's not throwing the water far. So what you do is you just get another water tank, which I did, a WellWorks one. I think I bought it at Home Depot. At the time it cost me $4 or something. I put it beside the 35 gallon pressure tank. I cut the 1-inch pipe, paralleled it in. What did that give me? I think that was 130, top of my head. It's a big one for an extra pressure tank. And then you add the 35, make sure they have the same pressure, which is very easy. Installing it took me, I don't know, 10 minutes. And what, bam, 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 what do you do? Now you got constant running water, for the most part. And I'll do a episode on how to do it for, if you want to do it. It's very easy, very quick, painless. I've had mine installed now for whatever, a little over 4 years. And what happens now is my pump will run longer, which doesn't mean, it means it's surging less to use less spark on power, because that's how you use more consumption. And the wear and tear on most pumps most of the time is when they start and stop. Please let me know if you have heard something else. But when they continuously run, it's a little less wear than on off, on off, on off, on off. Little jump. So where I'm going with this is I installed that. That gave me the pressure to fill that 1-inch pipe all the way down to these heads that were long distance away without losing all the pressure in my line. And I didn't waste what I had. I ran it in parallel. You say, how did I learn to do that? Well, to be honest with you, my stepfather said you could do it. I asked the plumber. He wanted to charge me 500 bucks to install it. I asked him what he was going to do. I asked him how long till he could come out. He told me it was going to be almost a month. So I turned around and said, screw it, I can do this myself. A little bit of pipe glue, a splitter, three-way splitter, a cutter, a couple little cement pads if you need them. And that was it. Did the research on the best pump I could buy, or pressure tanks, not pump, guys. So I have a, like I said, mine's a half gallon, or I'm saying it wrong, half horsepower motor down my well too, by the way. If I ever have to replace it, I'll put a 3/4. I have decent wellhead pressure. I would do the 3/4 because to make it easy, you turn around and it'll be less work for that motor for when I run my sprinklers all the time. And since I'm having it pump so much square inch pressure. Simple physics, simple math, guys.
Exercise ring closed.
Oh, my exercise ring is closed. I'm moving up, getting ready to jump, guys. I wish they'd cut this out of the trail. Again, a nice little ride, nothing bad. But if any of you want to learn how to install a parallel pump, put it in the comments. I can give you a 3 or 4 minute video on it because it's easy. You want to know how to install a sprinkler system, a little more timely, but I can make a video on that. Not hard and not expensive. You gotta make sure these contractors aren't ripping you off. There's great contractors. From my experience, a large number of them want to do the cheapest, quickest job and charge a premium. People don't care about what they do. Some do. Some are great. I believe in paying fair wages to people. However, I don't believe in paying and redoing work. And unfortunately, that's happened to me a lot. And it's happened to a lot of my friends. I fixed a lot of friends' stuff that they've had contractors come out. Now, there are a lot of things that they do more of that might be above your head and you're stuck. The problem is they know you're stuck. Do yourself a favor. Start doing little things, buying a little amount of tools here and there. Slowly but surely, you have a nice collection that you can do most basic to moderate maintenance of your homes and cars. cars are a little different anymore. They're getting harder to work on. I got a friend that knows a hell of a lot more than me about cars. To full disclosure, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was a door gunner and a helicopter crew chief and plane captain. What that means is I flew on them, shot out of them, and worked on them. That means I had to have some aptitude to work on things. But cars are getting to the point where they're very hard to work out without computer stuff. They do this in part by technology and in part by massive profits when you bring something to the garage. Have you ever noticed they charge a standardized rate of maintenance? It says how much to do a job, 0.2, 0.6 hours. They may charge you 12 hours of man labor on an item you have on your vehicle. It only took the technician 40 minutes, but they go by the book. That way they can charge higher prices. Believe me, rarely does it fit into your into an honest assessment. In fact, most of the time I brought mine even to the dealer, I've had to bring it back several times, or half-ass work, or no work at all. I've gotten that. One time, like you guys, early in my career after the Marine Corps, I was getting some tires at the dealer because they were the cheapest I could find.
5 miles.
And when they were doing my tires, they called me and said,
9.5 miles per hour.
"You need some brakes, front and back." I thought this was strange because I only had about 50,000 miles, but I said I was young. There's a Honda Accord. I drove stupidly. That might be accurate. I asked him, how much to do them? They said, give me a minute. Came back to me and told me the pads and everything at the time, and this is, probably 13, 14 years ago, they wanted $160. I said, I called the local AutoZone or O'Reilly's. The pads I wanted were going to be about 30 bucks a pair, I think at the time. I said, screw it, let them do it for that. 100 bucks is better than my time. I got my vehicle back. Thought everything was great, got my tires. A year went by, and what I found out was my brakes started squeaking. I said, what the hell? I took the tires off. I looked, sure as shit, they'd never been changed. They just charged me. And this was a genuine Honda dealer that did this. Pissed me off. And what they did was they realized I had plenty of brake in their eyes. They wanted to make more money. They charged me that. The other thing was they did, when I showed up to pick up my vehicle, they told me it was another 130 for the back, even though they had quoted me 160 for both pairs. They swore they didn't, and they wouldn't give me my car till I paid, even though they misquoted, purposely or not. So 160 cost me 290. 290 got me no brakes. I learned that lesson the hard way. I'm not saying I won't take my car somewhere, but if I can do it myself, at least I know it got done. And if it didn't get done right, at least I know who to blame. So that's what I say to you guys and girls. You may be watching this, and let me tell you, there's a lot of girls that can turn some wrenches, boys. So if they want to do it, I think it's great. Save yourself some money. My wife will come out with me. Now she will grime and she's all girly. I married a Barbie doll, so she may not like it, but she will do it. And that's some advice, guys. I don't have much good advice in marriage. I'm still learning. I find it amazing when people say they're married 80 years or 70 years or 60 years. I say my wife has trouble dealing with me for 60 minutes. So try to make sure you do things together. My wife used to get on me because I'm antsy and I'm always into something. And I'm not the big sitter. I'll sit at night and watch a movie. But she said, you never talk to me. You never spend time with me. You're always doing something. Now, mind you, I was always doing something to improve our life. I worked a lot of hours to provide for my wife and family. And I know it was hard for her to realize. So one day when she gave me hell, I said, get off your butt and get out here and help me. You can talk to me while I'm digging holes or doing sod, sprinkler system, whatever. Well, to her credit, she did. Not all the time, but she did. We just got done doing drainage in the yard where I unloaded, see, I think total rock weight of 57 stone, probably 38 or 39,000 pounds. It was, let's see, hard to calculate, but somewhere in that, all by wheelbarrow from the driveway to the backyard. We did this a layer on top of the grass, and you guys might think we're crazy, but it gave the water a better way to drain since we have a little bit of a downhill and we were having hydraulic drainage issues, short of digging the whole backyard up where I had sprinklers and everything else. So we wheelbarrowed these together. She helped me. We'd scoop it up, bring it, dump it, spread it. We did this right at the end of the winter, going into spring, before the grass came out hard. I covered all that beautiful grass. Everybody thought I was nuts. My neighbors, my wife, I think, and others. Why did I do it like this? Rock is cheap. I knew the grass would grow over it and you'd never even notice it was there. All those little sharp ends makes it so it doesn't lie perfectly flat. And as the grass grows through it and you mow and your lawn trim and spill it, it creates a nice compost layer that the water can drain through adequately, and then you have a dry yard. I did this because my dogs were just killing me on bringing clay in, tearing it up, and I kept getting funguses in the yard from the sitting water. That's just terrible on fescue grass. And you get tired of replacing fescue grass because it's a pain in the ass to grow. It only does it good one time a year for seeding. And so I wanted a permanent fix after years of screwing with it. I know you may say in the comments, why didn't you just dig some trenches, put some French drains or versions of French drains and drain it out the back? Believe me, I debated it, but this worked better and has worked excellent. Surprising, but it does work. It created enough of a barrier off that hard clay that it drains well now, or at least the perception of your foot touching it. Some areas I dumped some topsoil